Thank you, Ari. Let's see if I can get my find the PowerPoint over here. A moment, where are you? There we go. And there you go. So we're on. What I hope to show you today, by the way, is not just that the Greeks were the inventors of many concepts that we use day to day and now, but also, perhaps even more important, is how integrated all these concepts were for the ancient Greeks. They weren't separated. And that's why it's very difficult to go through these sessions in a linear manner. So you're going to see today how this is going to work. We're going to be discussing the Greek invention of drama, or I wrote here the Greek drama and the invention of dramatized storytelling. But in fact, you're going to see how it's going to touch on democracy, philosophy, science, many architecture, many of the concepts that we've discussed until now. And I hope to take us through this slowly. So I actually decided to include a quote that I love by Ursula Le Guin in a book called Tales from Earthsea. And what she wrote is, even if we are present at some historic event, do we comprehend it? Can we even remember it? Until we can tell it as a story. So in many ways, today's discussion is about storytelling and how storytelling is basically an element of culture. Each one of us tells our own stories. Every culture tells its stories, and we retell it to each other until it becomes part of our narrative, of a culture's narrative. What the Greeks did that was different is they dramatized their storytelling. And we're going to look at how this happened. So I think some of you had Toby Khan's lectures about the Cycladic sculptures. In many ways, I wish I'd been the one to introduce you to the Cycladic islands because in many the sculptures there are marvelous. They're an incredible element of Greek creativity when in the realm of arts and figurines. And so, if we can't give the Greeks credit for storytelling, because as we know, the Mesopotamians had their stories, Asians had their stories, Egyptians had their stories. We see that this 5,000-year-old seated harpist from the Cycladic Islands, made out of marble, shows that this tradition of singing alongside with music was already well established in Greece, even at this early period, I guess around 2,800 before Common Era. So, what was the bard singing of? If in our tradition we have the Judeo-Christian tradition, especially the Jewish one, obviously we retell our stories every week through the parsha of the week. So we retell basically the whole story of the Torah, basically. The Greeks told their stories of the Iliad and the Odyssey and all kinds of what's called the Homeric cycle, the Hesiodic hymns, through the bards. And they were told from island to island and the mainland all over Greece, sung by these bards known as rhapsodes, who would memorize these amazing works of epic literature and sang it to this rhythm, basically, around a fire. And they would, and this became the tradition. So you had what's known as the epic cycle, the Iliad, the story of the war against Troy, the Odyssey, the story of the return back from Troy, and all kinds of other epic poems and Homeric hymns. So, so Greek myth basically develops out of these war stories and all kinds of religious tales. And here is, remember, I'm going to make you do this. This is a Greek vase. What is it? It's a red figure vase. Very good. And because it's red figure, you're going to tell me, David, it's obviously got to be um, after 500, so in the 400s. So if you guess around 480 or 490, you'll be good. And I'll say, well done. And here we have a rhapsode singing with his harp. And they would always have a selection of epic poetry. The actual word rhapsode comes from the Greek rhapsodes, which means a stitcher wraps the stitch, odos, an ode of songs. And this is because the rhapsodes would stitched together different passages of epic poetry that was in their brain, basically all kinds of lines, stanzas, paragraphs, and depending on the audience, depending on the mood, depending on the theme, they would stitch it together to fit the rhythm, and it would form this longer, this small part of a longer, more cohesive performance. If you really want to know what Homer's true gift to world literature is, it's that he took all these different stitched pieces of narrative and stuck it together in two cohesive great works known as the Iliad and the Odyssey. So this was they were part of a much longer, much more ancient oral tradition. So they used to wonder if, in fact, it was possible for bards to memorize these hundreds of thousands of pages of rhymed or of metered, I should say, poetry. And in fact, we've found many illiterate tribes, both in Yugoslavia, Kyrgyzstan, other countries, of people who can do just that. In fact, just last week or 2 weeks ago, I was in Kyrgyzstan, and I heard and I taped, recorded a bard from the military who, on his own, I noticed he recited maybe four or five relatively large chapters from an epic known as the Epic of Manas by heart. And he told me every time is a little bit different. It depends on what line fits which rhythm, which mood. So it was wonderful to actually be to witness a part of this tradition. So I was wondering if I could share this song with you. I wonder if I don't think you hear the sound. And I'm not going. I had this issue with Ari before, trying to find the sound. And basically, I'll just tell you what he's doing here instead of playing it for you. What this gentleman's done is he's he's shown how the ancient Greeks were also the first to have. I'll see if I can find this for you. One moment. I thought I had a slide for you to show you this. They actually, we know what their music sounded like because they had these. Not only did they write these beautiful hymns that are found in inscribed in marble in different parts of Greece, they even had musical notation. And the piece that I wanted to play for you next, and perhaps I can do it for you in Greece if it's since the I'm not going to fiddle with the sound and ruin the rhythm of this session with you. But basically, we have not only all the words of these epic hymns, we even have musical notation. And this piece from 128 BCE, before Common Era, you'll see for yourself when we're in Delphi. It's the oldest known preserved musical notation of any, basically on the planet, or anywhere in the Western world, anyway. The composer is even his name is even given. It's called the First Delphic Hymn, written by Athenaeus, son of Athenaeus. And the music itself will just give you a sense of um of what it sounded like. I guess I'll send the link to Ari, and he can send it
Hey,
to you
David,
afterwards as well.
David, I can play it. So you want to give me a shot to do it real quick?
Yeah, did you find it already?
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can do
Okay.
this.
Go ahead. But go to Ari, if that's the case, go to 11:30 and 11 minutes 30. Okay. Are you finding it, Ari? And you're muted.
Yeah, I was playing it, so I thought you guys were seeing it. Let me try it again.
No, did anybody see it? Everyone else saw it? Everyone else saw it. Only I didn't see it. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So I
Did you
did. I
play it
played.
from 11? You played it
Yes.
from 11:30 to 12:30?
Yes. About, yeah,
About
12:15. Yeah.
perfect. It's great. I even stopped in time, more or less. Isn't that wonderful? And here you actually get a sense of you get an ear into what this ancient music sounded like. And so thank you, Ari. That's actually very helpful. I appreciate that. I'll see if I can do that for the other pieces as well when they come up. So the double flute that you see the musician playing is called the aulos. And so we have many vases showing these aulos players. This one again is a red figure piece from a Kylix, about 480. And so you have I want you to imagine the music you just heard and the instruments you saw and the bards you see depicted both in the Cycladic harpist and in these aulos players. Imagine these hymns being sung at all these religious festivals with a proper trope, like it's actual, like it's a with the exact music notation, the exact rhythm, and it was and it would have been sung all over Greece at different religious festivals, to Dionysus, to Apollo, to Hera, and um, and since today's theme is uh, is theater, I want you to imagine these songs being sung with a chorus of about 50 dancers and singers, and this became the popular entertainment all over Greece. It was religious and popular. It was called a dithyrambos, and so you it was kind of done in a circle in an open area, and in a way and they would be telling their stories. As I said, there's their stories from that were known to them all. These stories of the Homeric cycle, the Greek mythology, told by Hesiod. And the next slide here, I want you to see this is in many ways what we do at our own Torah readings. When we sing our stories, everybody knows the stories that are being told. And even if your Hebrew isn't up to the task, you're aware, let's say the story of the week, if it's telling the story of Joseph in Egypt, when you see an image like this, these themes are immediately recallable to anybody who inherits this Judeo-Christian upbringing. We have Potiphar, Potiphar's wife, and Joseph fleeing her. It's an image instantaneous. Imagine this was the same case for the Greeks. This told them who they were, and every image that was shown that I'm showing you, both in sculpture and on the Greek vases, is for the Greeks. It just touched on who they were as a people. So again, I wanted to show you, imagine these Yemenite scholars sitting around. By the way, isn't it wonderful how, because in Yemen, they didn't have access to, uh, everyone didn't have access to their own Chumash. They all learned to read from every single angle. So you'd have chavrusas, these groups getting together, reading the Torah, telling the stories together, basically discussing it from every single angle possible. I just wanted you to realize that there's an analogy for us as well. And so again, telling a story. Here is a beautiful image by Rembrandt, just a sketch of Joseph telling his dreams to his father and his brothers. It's an imaginative recounting, but again, the uh, the story is being told and recounted. And so for the Greeks, it would have been the same thing. You have Achilles riding around the walls of Troy with the body of Hector, and you have the image of Odysseus, who wants to hear the forbidden song of the sirens and has his sailors, tie him to the mast while they themselves block their ears, because the siren song are so beautiful that anybody who hears it hurls himself into the sea, just to be one with these sirens who are drawing them in. Odysseus wants to hear it and escape unscathed, and he ties himself to the mast and he gets to experience it. So hearing the forbidden while being bound, and it was a theme I wanted to show you. So these are themes that the Greeks would have had over and over again. Here's a black figure vase for you. The um, the fight over Patroclus's body. I'm not gonna um, get into it ad nauseum, but let me move now to the question. We've seen we've witnessed the storytelling. We've heard the music. we've seen the imagery, we understand the parallel to our own way of telling our own story. How and why did drama, the way we know it today, actually happen? So there's a concept in ancient Greek called the agon. I wrote it up here for you, agon. And the word agon in Greek means a struggle or a contest. So it can be a contest in athletics, like in horse racing, wrestling, or in pottery making, or in fact in poetry and drama. So Homer himself competed against Hesiod in a singing contest to see who could tell their stories the better. And the playwrights were the same. So where's this? So I want to show you. So here we have one of the earliest known theaters, the Theater of Dionysus, which was built and you're going to see this in a few weeks, at the foot of the Athenian Acropolis. So this was dedicated to Dionysus, the god of plays, actually, and drama and wine and passion. And this theater sat about 17,000 people. So you have and all the earliest plays that we're going to get into later, both the tragedies of Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, were played here, as well as the comedies of Aristophanes. So according to tradition, in about 534 or 535 BCE, a fellow by the name of Thespis was so overcome by the telling of the stories that he knew so well, he jumped on the back of a wooden cart and started acting out the story of the lines that he was reading. In other words, as I said to you, not last session, but 2 sessions ago, I think it would be as if the person who's reading the story of we just said Potiphar, like the guy gets up and goes, I am Potiphar, and and I challenged, and I played the main part in what happened to Joseph, and how dare he touch my wife. He started basically acting the role of the part he was playing. And in so doing, he became essentially the world's first actor. And from Thespis, we actually get the word thespian. And according to Aristotle, he was the first human to ever appear on a stage playing a character in a play. And I want to see, Ari, this is unfortunately you can't play for me. So I'm not gonna try and play the sound for you because I'm just gonna play a little bit of what he looked like. Nobody can hear this, right? This is a bard I saw 2 weeks ago in Kyrgyzstan, the one I told you about before, that was singing, basically chanting this epic of Manas inside his hut. And before his performance started, these old ladies came together and tied the yurt symbolically with all of the participants inside to watch. And there was a fire inside with a lamp burning, and all it was. And I felt like I traveled back in time to actually witness what it must have been like for these ancient Greeks to hear a storyteller telling the story. It was incredible. So and after the this presentation would end, you would have a sacrifice of a goat. So here I found you a vase, again, a very advanced red figure vase, called a crater, where you actually mix the wine, if you remember. This dates to 420 BCE. And here you see actually a cow being led to a sacrifice. So what would happen is at the end of the performance of the song, remember a song is an ode? At the end of the song, they would bring a goat, which is called tragos, and they would sacrifice the goat to the god for whom the whole performance had been made. And if you think about it, what we do in the synagogue is a representation of what the ancient Israelites did in the temple when we actually would perform a sacrifice at the end of our worship. So essentially, this is the same idea. At the end of the recitation of their narrative of the stories of the gods and their powers and their passions and the lessons mortals have to draw on the gods' doings and interactions with humans, you would have a sacrifice to the gods. So the word tragos and goat, along with song, odeon, od, gives us tragedy, goat song. So that's basically that. So the end of the tragedy was always marked by the sacrifice of a goat. And here's another beautiful depiction of a sacrifice. It's the oldest painted wooden tablets we have from Greece. They're called the pizza panels, Pitsa, from 540 before Common Era. And it's basically these thin wooden boards covered with plaster called stucco and painted with these beautiful mineral pigments. So you can see it's actually written, look how bright the colors are. And and again, you have the depiction of a sacrifice at the end of a performance. Look at the goat being led or the sheep being led. And I just wanted to show you quickly the superimpose the goat with the Greek theater. And one more slide I want to show you, which is the sacrifice to mark the end of the Hajj, which again is a religious pilgrimage that carries a whole series of dramatic reenactments of, in this case, of Ishmael and Abraham when they arrived to Mecca for the first time. And at the end of this whole festival of Ramadan, you have the sacrifice of a goat as well. So and of course it also is meant to symbolize the story of of Abraham being asked to sacrifice his son, and at the last moment the son is replaced with a ram. So and of course the for the Jewish people they say this person was Isaac, and for Muslims actually they say it was Ishmael, but the Quran only says his favorite son. But that's a different story for a different time. And of course, I wanted to show you our own procession, the Jewish procession, to reenact our own stories. When we take the Torah out and we dress it and we bring it and we parade it and we lay it down, that is also a reenactment. That also, as I said before, under the Jewish tradition, also entails sacrifice.
David,
So here again
bef-
is yes.
before we go on, two quick things. One is I have that video that we can share with audio because I just uploaded it while you were talking
Oh,
to.
you're amazing. Can you do it fast? Do you mind?
Yeah, but before we get there, there's a question about these plays and all and these shows, which was, were they free and who would attend them? Was this for like everybody within the society or certain
Later on.
people?
I was gonna come to that, but yes, they
Okay,
were essentially available for all male citizens, not female,
male. Okay.
and they would all come and be part of it. There is a question as to whether women took part in the plays or not, and that's they used to say absolutely not. Most recent scholarship says they may well have, especially in the later times. But yeah, that's the
But
simple short
was it
answer.
free? I mean, was it free of
It
charge?
was
Like it
free,
wasn't.
yes. It was all citizens were invited and were supposed to take part in it as well. It was basically going to show.
Uh, okay, hold on. Let's see if I can get this video for you. Ready? If you don't hear it, other people will just give me a thumbs up if you hear it.
That's
Okay.
fine. And you can play to the end this time.
Жол тұрды 80 балла, оңбоды қызыл тала, бұрут деп, бұл малдары жұлқурат, құрут деп, 80 балла, қацырып, 40 балаға асылып, далайын, қырқынан, тізесі жерге бүгілді 40 баланың алдына келін болып, жүгіндің ей.
Okay, so I'm hoping were you all able to hear
I
that?
get some thumbs
Thumbs
up
up?
there. Some thumbs up from
They
some of the
did.
people. That's great.
Everybody heard it.
I'm
I
glad.
don't know if you heard it,
I'm
David,
glad
but
you
they did.
heard it. And let me say something about that for a moment. This fellow, who I'm still in touch with, the Bard, he is representing Kyrgyzstan in the nomadic games. The nomadic games are held every 4 years from all the nomadic cultures of the world, and he is their representative. Isn't that like I found that incredible because I told you just before the idea of the contest, and they also have wrestlers who are competing. I actually fought with their military representative in a wrestling match for fun. So it was I had the luck to actually be part of two traditions, the oral bardic tradition and the wrestling tradition that are going to be the spirit of competition is very much alive, and he's their representative. If you notice underneath his costume, he's wearing his military fatigues. You can see his pants maybe. So yeah, I thought that was amazing. So yeah, so another thing I want to talk about is that this very first play I told you about was took apparently it was in 534 BCE. Where you talk about Thespis jumping up, and and the first play was actually sponsored by a tyrant named Pisistratus. Remember, I spoke about him in the very first lecture or session we had about democracy. He was the tyrant who and he decided that the people needed this kind of a release. They needed this kind of a festival, of a tragedy, and he sponsored the first competition of playwrights. And Aeschylus was actually the winner, the first winner of the playwrights, and he got to put on this performance, which I'm going to try and play you, or perhaps Ari will play you in a bit, the what that sounded like, or what that amounted to. Here's a depiction of a beautiful um, Attic red figure amphora. Look at Dionysus. Look at the richness of those grapes, as opposed to the redness of his garment. Here you see the beauty of the red figure. He's holding his own mixing thing for mixing the wine. He's getting ready basically to party and also to go into ecstasy. And it's all part of the element of the Greeks paying tribute to passion, rather than merely being these coolly logical thinkers, the Apollonian side, as Nietzsche put it. Nietzsche liked to actually Nietzsche, the philosopher, liked to contrast the Greek, these two aspects of Greek thinking: the Apollonian, which was the cool, dispassionate side, versus the Dionysian. And for him, it wasn't verses; it was just two parts of the same personality. So here, here you have this play from Aeschylus, the very first play that was put on. Actually, it was 472 BCE, sorry. And this essentially is where the idea of drama, of tragedy, took off. And it became popular all over Greece. People started coming all over Greece to see these plays. And his first play was called The Persians. And the fact that Pericles would sponsor this play shows you the propaganda side of it as well, because of course Athens had been behind this great victory of the Battle of Salamis, and Aeschylus, the writer, had participated in the battle, and most of the Athenian audience had also been directly affected and probably participated in the battle, and so you have the Persians actually part of the play. So you have this element of the losers, the Persians, describing the action from their point of view. And so I want you to imagine that Aeschylus knew, like, by the way, the British pronunciation at Canadian is Aeschylus. I think Americans say Aeschylus. So don't get caught up on my pronunciation. But imagine he took part in the battle. So did many people in the audience. What he was writing about was known to them. They would have if something was off, they would have argued. They would not have been happy about it. So he was. And the novel idea of having the people in the play, the losers, being the Persians and telling the stories from their point of view was novel. It was fascinating, and it already shows you this Greek twist on things. So Aeschylus himself, I'll try and use the American pronunciation, is known as the father of tragedy. So he lived from 525 to 456 BCE, and when he died, he asked that his tombstone, have written on it, not Aeschylus, the writer of the winner of many prizes as a playwright. He wanted him to be on his tomb to be written Marathonomachus, a person who fought at Marathon, the Battle of Marathon. So to put in the context of Greek vase painting, look at this. He was born in the period of Black Figure and began writing his plays during Red Figure, the 400s. So here is just a quick, I just wanted to show you the idea of the marathon battlefield, how it is in relation to Greece. And it's pivotal to everything we're discussing, because it gave the Greeks, this Battle of Marathon, especially Athens, the fact that any Greek who took part in it, and in this great defeat of the Persians, it secured their unity. It gave them confidence in the fact that they actually could defeat this much larger number. And it secured, in many ways, the survival of Greek independence. They didn't lose the Persians. If the Greeks had lost, they would no longer have had their independence, and they would no longer have had democracy. So this victory, from the Greek perspective, prevented the Persian Empire from expanding further into Europe. But especially it allowed this unique experiment of Athenian democracy that we've been speaking about, and culture that we've been talking about, art, theater, philosophy, to flourish. And ultimately, it laid this foundation of Western civilization as we know it. And even today, when we're speaking about Iran, we're constantly hearing this culture clash. The echoes of it are we still hear it even now. The Greeks were very aware of the importance of this victory, and the Athenians were especially proud of victory, as you see with Aeschylus. There's just a fanciful depiction. So can we do this one? Prometheus bound. I don't know. Ari, I'm not going to ask you to do this. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it.
I
So
do. I,
one of the interesting.
I have found a version I can share if you want.
I just wanted. You wouldn't find. Can you? Let's see if you can find the one I have here.
I will look
I'll
while
just
you
talk
talk.
about it. Basically, let me speak about it. It's better this way. You can show them. You can show the video clips afterwards. What I wanted to stress here is this: Prometheus Bound has a lot of chutzpah in it. Prometheus is known is for having stolen fire from the gods and giving it to mortals. And by the mortals having fire, they could now basically begin to live as gods, not just cook their own food, but also forge their own weapons. They became in some ways their own type of divinity. And Zeus is so furious with Prometheus for granting mortals this kind of power that he punishes him by chaining him to a rock. And an eagle comes every day, devours his liver, and because he's immortal, the liver grows back, and then the eagle devours it again. It's a forever punishment. So this play is beautiful because it both discusses the injustice, the unfairness of the fact that Prometheus was trying to help. He did not want mortals to languish in darkness and squalor. He wanted them to have this gift. And in the meantime, the chorus, who represents the perspective of the gods, is scolding Hephaestus, the god who was chaining Prometheus, for daring to be indignant about the fact that Prometheus is being punished. So you have here the playwright. Imagine it's a festival for the gods, and the very play that's being shown is essentially almost a complaint. It's saying more, a god, a titan, is being punished for giving mortals too much power, and the play discusses that. It's not afraid to get into what for us might even be to our minds might even be sacrilegious. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that Aeschylus wasn't the only one to feel an immense pride in this accomplishment of the victory of Marathon. When we're walking up the Acropolis, and you're going to see the beautiful Parthenon, the Erechtheion, the temple to the wingless Nike, you're basically seeing the Athenians saying, "We are the reason we have democracy, Greeks. We are the reason. We Athenians gave it. It was our present to mankind." It's a very vainglorious boasting, and and in many ways it set the seeds of resentment among the Spartans for what became the Peloponnesian War. But that's another story. The most important thing is to realize that for the Greeks at this time, it was the accomplishment was a victory of democratic values over despotism. That's wrongly or rightly. That's how it was played. Here's a beautiful red figure of Kylix of a well-armed Greek hoplite slaying a Persian soldier, and so on. So here we have different depictions of plays in vases, a red figure vase showing you different elements of a tragedy being performed. Aeschylus was also known for bringing in not just the first actor but a second actor. So he set up the discussion of different characters in a play, and he also introduced the idea of a trilogy. So 3 sets of plays. So what did our philosophers think about these plays? Well, while most Greeks, as we already established, love their plays, philosophers had their criticisms. You've noticed that Plato didn't like the idea of democracy. Plato also saw drama since he already saw reality as we know it as a distortion of a real form, he saw drama as worse than that, an imitation of an imitation, a distortion of a distortion. So Plato saw that tragedy was 2 levels of removal from the truth. He said if drama is an art form that imitates physical appearances, that takes people's ability of trying to ever isolate the true reality of forms even further away. So it's further misleading. So in Plato's Republic, he says, I want poets and dramatists to be exiled from any ideal society. So we don't want democratically elected leaders, according to Plato. We also don't want poets or dramatists. So I thought that was worthy, because what did Plato? So Socrates probably would have liked drama. He definitely believed in democracy. So what did Aristotle, Plato's student, feel about this? Aristotle loved drama, especially tragedy, because he saw it as he thought imitation was incredibly important, and he saw that drama was imitation of human action in life. So he said people got to watch and experience through their eyes and ears uh, uh, an imitation of actual events. So he said tragedy, especially tragedy, could evoke emotions of pity and fear and sorrow in the audience. And he said this allowed them to purge themselves of these feelings and come to a higher level. He called this purging through watching drama catharsis. And he said it puts suffering in his mind in a perspective that was manageable. So he has a book called The Poetics, where he if Ari wants to write this down, the definition of tragedy. And he so he also has another concept he writes that I want to mention to you. He says in every play, in every tragedy, you can isolate something called hamartia, which means that even in the greatest hero, they have a fatal flaw or an error. So even the greatest human or the greatest mortal isn't a villain, but he's also not a model of perfection. He has a change from good fortune to misfortune because of some flaw in his or her nature. And also the gods, of course, will also play a part. And the last word I want to introduce you to is the word called hubris. You'd spell it in English, Hubris, which means extreme pride or self-confidence or overconfidence. So it's often the reason why the wrath of the gods is visited upon a mortal. So these are concepts that Aristotle introduced. So even the philosophers weren't sure about like they argued about the benefits of drama. Here you have a portrait of a Greek actor named Euion, and in this case Euion. Oh, I wrote a few. Sorry, he's shown as Perseus with his wing cap and boots, but he's an actor, and he writes in Greek, Euion kalos eskulo. Euion, son of Aeschylus, is beautiful, and it dates to about 430 BCE. So you see, even the actors had their fans. You have people today who love whoever the current star is, Taylor Swift, and you had Swifties. This was a UANE of the day. So I just wanted to actually discuss with you quickly in terms of modern. You can obviously think about cinema having developed from drama. And if any of you ever saw the Coen brothers movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," it's actually meant to be it's a tribute to the Odyssey. And here you have the three women playing the part of the sirens. And in this one, of course, you have the blind the blind singer basically representing Homer. And this is a clear tribute, but of course, if I won't get into it now, but the parallels with Hollywood and cinema with Greek drama and tragedy and comedy is undeniable. So I just wanted to show you a couple of more slides along the way, the imagery we would have seen. I especially love the image of Odysseus, by the way, because of Odysseus and the Sirens, because if you go back, I talked to you earlier in a few sessions ago about the story of the Maccabees of Hanukkah time. And in many ways, Hellenism for Jews in that time period was seen as dangerous. The siren song of the heathen, of things that took you away from your Judaism. And interestingly enough, many of the ancient synagogues have mosaics of Odysseus on the mast. And sometimes in my mind, it's almost like the idea of don't listen to the beautiful voices of the of the Gentile, as attractive as they may be, and yet this is one way perhaps you can enjoy it but still stay true to your faith. I found that this element, this fascination of Jews, this dance with Hellenism, this both being attracted to and repelled by it, fascinating. So again, Ari, I'm not going to play Clytemnestra for you. This is one of the another play by Aeschylus. Hopefully, you can just show a link to it. The basically the beauty of the story of the Oresteia, of this trilogy by Aeschylus, is he tells the story. So Prometheus tells the story of how a Titan challenged the will of Zeus by giving fire to mankind. The story of the Oresteia takes place on the tells the story of how Orestes, who is the son of Agamemnon, is placed in a very strange bind. His father Agamemnon is returned from 10 years abroad at Troy and is murdered by his wife Clytemnestra. She kills him because Agamemnon sacrifices their daughter Iphigenia uh, to try to their ships are at a standstill before they even reach Troy, and he's told by a seer that he must sacrifice his daughter for the winds to continue blowing and carry them to Troy, and he does so. So Clytemnestra is infuriated. She hears the news. She ends up taking a lover while Agamemnon is gone, and when he comes back, she kills him. She kills Agamemnon in the bath. She throws a net on him and kills him. And Orestes, the son of their son, is told by Athena that he must avenge the killing of his father, which means killing his mother, which again is a sin punishable by death. And he's placed in this weird bind. He eventually does kill his mother, and there's a trial that takes place on the Areopagus, the hill of Ares that I showed you in the very first session we had together. In that court case, the jury is it basically reaches it's at a dead still. The same number of people find guilty and another number find Orestes innocent, and Athena casts the deciding vote, and Orestes goes free. So again, I want to show you the stories that these playwrights were dealing with, and again, this is a religious festival. Here you have Orestes actually being purified by Apollo. So we come to the next playwright. We remember Sophocles. Now he's just a wee bit later, 497 to 405 BCE. Remember, these plays were staged as a competition. Aeschylus was known as the tragedy champion. Nobody could beat him. Like he was unrivaled until a couple of decades into his reign. A young and talented whippersnapper by the name of Sophocles beat him, and he started winning many plays. And Aeschylus, as great as he was a sore loser because he withdraws in a great sulk and never writes again to Sicily. And Sophocles wins at least 20 plays. He introduces more actors, and he introduces even further human issues of the kind of troubles one can get into when trying to be a good person. And one of the best examples of that is in the story of Oedipus Rex. So this one, Ari, if you can pull up for me, I'll be very happy. Oedipus is the story of Oedipus. He starts by his parents get a prophecy at the Oracle of Delphi when he's born. They say, this child who was just born to you is going to kill his father and marry his mother. So the king of Corinth says, I can't have this happen. And he orders his son to be exposed and killed. So of course, as the story goes, the shepherd takes pity on him, brings him far to another town where he's raised and Oedipus, as a young man, goes off to find his fortune. Basically, he's told by an oracle that he is going to kill his father and marry his mother, and he decides to flee his father and mother as far as he can. So he flees, and on the road to Thebes, where he thinks he can claim refugee status, he meets this arrogant old man by the road with a few guards. They get into an altercation. He kills the man, and he makes his way to Thebes, and he encounters on the way, this as his vase shows, a sphinx. And the Sphinx has been troubling the people of Thebes for many, many years by not letting travelers continue on their path until they've answered a riddle. And he poses the riddle, and if the traveler cannot answer the riddle, the Sphinx strangles them. Sphinx actually comes from the word asphyxiation. So the Sphinx's finished punishment was by choking. And so the Sphinx meets Oedipus and asks him the riddle. Does anybody know the riddle here? What has 4 legs? What begins on 4 legs? Anybody want to continue? Then goes on 3, then on 2. That has a 4, then on 2, then on 3. And of course, the riddle is it's a human. You start off by crawling, then you get up on 2 legs, and eventually, as an old person, you have to walk with a cane. So he answers the riddle correctly. The Sphinx, in despair and anger, kills itself, and he makes his way to Thebes, where he's hailed as this great rescuer. But for some reason, the king of Thebes is not returning, and he and the queen get to know each other, fall in love, they get married, have kids, and the story of Oedipus, the king, tells the story. So, and of course, what you find out in the end is that by trying to escape the oracle, Oedipus has in fact killed his father, who's the old man on the road, married his mother, who he has children with, Antigone, Electra, and so on. And so and this play, Oedipus the King, just shows Oedipus as a thoroughly good person. And there's many discussions on it. What was his fatal flaw? If he was so good, why was he punished so terribly? When he finds out the truth, his mother killed herself in horror. He blinds himself. And so it's a true tragedy in every sense of the word. And what's the message in it? So I would make note of this, the Oedipus the King. I wonder if you can find this version. It's really hard to find. The 1986 BBC version. But if you can find it, can you go to where would it be? 59 minutes. Tell me if you can find it first of all. Give me the thumbs up. Yeah. Go to 59 minutes and play till 107, an hour and 7.
Okay, let's give it a shot. So hopefully people will tell you that they can see.
It's on, by the way.
When Laius fate and Apollo's word are both forgotten, and your warnings unheard.
I have decided, senators of Thebes, to visit the holiest temples of the city, to make sacrifices there with incense and flowers to the all-powerful gods. The king is confused at the moment by his own nightmares and fantasies. He can't make balanced judgments or estimate from past experience what is likely to happen. Each new sensational revelation he takes as truth and is terrified the more. I've tried to comfort him, but I've failed. So it seemed sensible to offer prayers. And first to Apollo, whose altar stands nearest.
Got it? So for some reason I lost 1 second.
Hey, David, I stopped sharing it because I don't think you want me to go
Okay.
for 7 minutes, but I can share the whole
Yeah. Stop
video.
now for now, please. Yeah. Okay, so am I back now?
Yes.
Can you all hear me again? I don't see you for some reason now. 1 second. Here we go. Yeah. Very good. Okay, thank you. So, so we now let's go to. So that gives you a taste of Sophocles. Now we come to our next playwright, who is we know as Euripides. He was, as you see, quite a bit younger. He was he was from 480 to 406 BCE. His characters are really complex, much the most complex of all, and to the extent that modern scholars are still undecided. For instance, he has a character. I'm going to play you an excerpt from Medea. One moment. I want to see if Ari can pull it up really fast. Medea with 1 second. Euripides Medea. What's his version known as? One moment. Can you find this, Ari?
I will try.
So he's known among all the Greek playwrights, the only one really, for the sympathy he shows to both foreigners and to all victims, minorities of society, including, like I said, foreigners, especially women. So someone asked before about the audience, these male audiences who were frequently conservative males, they were shocked by the heresies that he put into the mouths of his characters. So his character Medea, she makes comments like, "I would rather stand 3 times to face the battles of men with a shield than bear one child." So he was he was he was often lampooned and criticized by modern by his fellow Greeks for the amount of sympathy he showed to he would show to these characters. So he didn't win that many, but his plays are really unique. His The fact that in the play Medea, I'm going to try and show you an excerpt from it in a moment. He places a foreigner at the center of a tragedy. Challenge a lot of Greek stereotypes. She's intelligent, she's strong, and she also point very pointedly calls out Greek hypocrisy, Greek prejudice, and and yet at the very end, Medea confirms to their prejudices by killing her own children and escaping again to punish her husband. So I wonder if I can find Ari. Did you pull it up yet? Did you
Yeah.
find it?
Is there a particular short piece you want me to show?
Yes. You have to have 1225. I want you to have it's the interaction between Medea and her father-in-law Creon. So Medea has saved her husband Jason, who was looking for the golden fleece. She saved his life several times from her father and her brother. She was a princess of Chalkis, and by means of her magic, she's an enchantress and a witch. She's able to basically safely take Jason back to his home, and he marries her. But then a few years later, he meets a younger and prettier woman who's is described as light skinned. Medea is described as dark skinned, and she's furious. And the father-in-law, who's the king, wants to expel Medea rather than face her wrath, and that's the scene you're going to see now. It's at 12:25. You find it, Ari?
I believe I did. We'll give it a shot.
Okay, please play.
Some great person is coming. It is Creon himself.
Creon is coming. He's dark with anger. Oh, my lady, my child, bend in this wind and not be broken.
You have admirers, I see. Medea, woman of the stone forehead and hate-filled eyes, I've made my decision.
I know we're getting cut short for time. I'll give me 5 more minutes.
And go into banishment, you with your children. I intend to remove a root of disturbance out of the soil of Corinth. I'm here to see to it I will not return home until it is done.
Banishment?
Exile, banishment. Go you may, my dear, but here you abide no more.
I with my children?
I will not take them away from you.
Because we have suffered evil, we are to suffer more evil. Death was my wish.
Huh?
Okay, David, we're back. I just showed a piece of it, but I'll share the links to everybody. I
Okay.
know we're almost out of time here.
The basically the exchange. Can you all hear me? Am I still with you?
Yep.
One moment, my screen. Okay. Here we go. So basically, the after this exchange, Medea finally convinces her father-in-law to allow her to stay for 1 day. And the famous line, if you read the Greek, is he says, "I'm foolish, I'm weak, I shouldn't be allowing her this. But after all, how much harm can one woman cause in 1 day?" And of course, she kills the bride to be, and she kills her own children and manages to escape safely. So it's a powerful play to examine, and modern scholars are often dispute if it's actually a misogynistic play about the dangers of women, or if it's actually a very feministic play that discusses female empowerment. So it's a play I urge you to read. I think it's a very important play to understand Euripides and his unusual perspective. Moment here.
We're pretty much out of time, David. I don't know if you want to wrap it up or what you want to add, because
Yeah, I
there's
would
some
like to wrap
questions
it up.
there's some questions I'd like to get to real quick.
One moment. So I'll stop the share and I'll say a couple more things. That wraps it up for tragedy. Can you all hear me? I don't see
Yep.
myself.
Yes, we can.
But we didn't get into comedy yet. And Aristophanes is the great writer of comedy. And all I'm going to say about him is that whereas tragedy was open to all the Greeks all across Greece, comedy was done mainly for the Athenians themselves. And it was a vicious lampooning and satire of local society and politics and culture. And in one of his plays, the Clouds, he makes so much fun of Socrates and tries to expose him as a hypocrite and also as a manipulator. And many people believe this particular play led to his trial and his eventual conviction by the Athenians. Remember, I told you how it all comes together. Another play by Aristophanes, which is perhaps his most famous, is Lysistrata, in which the women carry out a protest against both the Spartan women and the Athenian women, bring an end to war by deciding they're not going to have any sexual intercourse with their husbands until the war ends. And it's a ridiculous lampoon. It's put to our eyes quite bawdy, but it ends up in the Spartans and Athenian men reaching a truce and a pact of peace because they want their wives back in that sense. So I'll stop it there, and you're open for questions.
Thank you. A few good questions that I got from the audience, so let's go as fast as possible given timing. So you showed us these great structures where they had the plays. So when did they get built? And did they really, you said 17,000 people, did you meet 1,700 people? Like, so when did these facilities for plays get built in relation to the actual plays themselves? Who built them? Who owned them, and how did they function?
Yeah. First of all, the plays were always typically sponsored, I said, by Pisistratus or by any local leader. Pericles, under the democratic system, improved it. And everywhere you look all across the world where the Greeks touched, in Turkey, Anatolia, you're going to see Epidaurus. You're going to see these beautifully preserved Greek theaters. So the scenery was very elaborate. You had the typical trapdoors, the famous Deus ex machinus, where the god comes out of nowhere and suddenly solves everything if he'd be lowered to a scaffolding. So it was very much, in many ways, would be recognizable to our modern eyes.
And then how many people, like, what do you think the audience size really was when they're bigger theaters?
Um,
I can look it up too.
let's see. I'm trying to think. The one in Athens was particularly big, but I said 17,000. I'm 70, right? Like about it would be about 4, 5, 6,000. That would be the usual number. I'm trying to think what the largest Epidaurus. I don't even know.
Okay,
Let me look
I'll
at
look it up.
Epidaurus. I wonder.
So the next question, which is related, is costumes. Many of the images you showed had
But
had
oh, sorry,
nudes,
go on.
had nudes.
Yeah.
So were people doing show dressed up and naked? And then how did that all work with costumes and masks?
They were often, if you notice, many of the slides I showed you, people had masks. So they had these painted masks. The famous theater symbol that we know with the smile and the frown that represented the comedy and tragedy. And you'd have different masks of people. One would be there'll be a mask representing an old person, a woman, a goddess, a god, and you had all kinds of if it was and people were clothed. They weren't naked. If they would have something called satyr plays in between it for comedic effect, which you'd have these people jumping around with enlarged phalluses representing. So it was not done in the nude. No, not like the athletics. But Ari, the number of 17,000 could very well have been though, because the
Okay,
largest ones could hold up to 20,000.
I'll double check. But these were full on plays though. They included music,
Yes,
backdrops,
absolutely.
scenery, costumes.
Trilogies, everything. Yeah, as we know them.
But they were free as opposed to because the
Yeah,
patron paid for them, right? Is that what you were saying? So that the,
that's right.
I mean, and these plays would they be like one? I mean, how many? I don't know if we know this. How, was it like a Broadway run? Was it like a few months, a few days, a few weeks? Um, was there a cycle where they would bring them back?
Um, First of all, there was there were popular plays that were done over and over. That's why we have them written out. But the primary one, the very first ones were done, as I said, for the actual festivals. And then when they became popular, they got redone, they got written, they got played by different people all over. So you have copies of plays that we find in different libraries all over the world that were recopied, which is why we have so many copies of them, and they were redone as well. And the idea of the of the play, it was meant to be accessible to everyone in society. But if you had like the better seats for the way you have in a lot of places, the orchestra seats, you have to pay for those. The better seats you paid for, like anywhere else, the placement, but it was meant to be accessible to anybody who wanted to see it. So it'd be, I guess, for the very poor, it'd be like a nominal penny, like penny kind of a show or something like that. So it was meant to be for everybody, but there were nominal fees involved.
Last question. How long did these plays last?
What do you mean?
Well, how on average, how long are these plays? So you'd sit in the audience for how long?
Yeah, it would be like the typical play. I mean, I've seen most of these be like be an hour or so, hour 20 minutes. It was almost like a movie run. Like it wasn't not much different than what we know today.
Okay.
You'd have intermissions and breaks between them as you when you had the trilogies played, you'd have that each one would be basically the equivalent of like an hour. Then you'd see the next one and the next one and the next one. It could take a whole day basically.
Hmm, okay. Um, well, I want to wrap up by saying thank you for this series. I feel like I'm much better prepared now to go to Greece. A lot more research to do, and
I'm glad.
I know you wanted to do many more. So I wanted to see, was there any, like, if you had a chance to do like a few more programs on the subject the Greeks invented, what would you present? Which topics have we not covered that you think are very important?
I think the invention of history, Herodotus, Thucydides, how that happened. But when Greeks suddenly decided that they wanted their stories retold accurately, for instance, and that would be a big one. The other element that I most want to do is, of course, the when the Jews came to Greece and what happened as a result of that, when the Romaniots and what that meant, and why were they called Romaniots, and how the Greek Jews ended up with their own form of ancient Greek and ancient Hebrew mixed together, and who were they, and what elements of ancient Greek that we've been discussing did they pick up that made them different from Jews of the rest of the world? So that's those are the two biggies that I said I would happily tack on to our series.
Okay. So I'll see if we can tag them on before we head out. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And I'll share a long follow-up to this one with videos so you can watch them, entire plays so you can enjoy them, and
It was great.
David's home video from his adventures in, sorry, it was Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan. Where were you?
That was Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan. Okay.
And there is a place I would bring everyone to happily. That's an experience. Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. That in many ways, that I think I told you this in my very first session, that ties together Judaism with Greek philosophy, Islamic philosophy. It kind of wraps the whole thing in a neat bundle. But that's
Okay.
another
We'll add it to our
discussion.
list, David. We'll put it on the
Yep.
list. We'll get Alan Cortez to finally join us on an adventure, maybe. Okay. Take
Say
care,
there.
everybody. Be
Bye
safe.
for now.
Shabbat shalom. Bye, everybody. Thanks for learning with
Shalom.
us.